Mr. Higgins is recognized for his questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, thank you for appearing before this full committee. Your combined IQ is frighteningly high, and a welcome transition from some of the things we witness in Congress. Representing a state that is recognized as perhaps the nation's leader in the oil and gas industry, I've witnessed regulatory overreach over the last decade push the American oil and gas industry to the shores of other countries. And considering the totality of circumstance of the world's ecology, my personal opinion is that that's ecologically unsound logic. So, Mr. DeWitt, my question is for you, sir, regarding nuclear technology. Nuclear energy is one of the most heavily regulated industries in the United States, and we must balance the benefits of nuclear energy with potential safety risks and ecological concerns. These regulations can impede the potential for the export of U.S. nuclear technology, but we must recognize that a higher regulatory burden on exports in the United States could work against nuclear safety worldwide and security goals if it allows less regulated technologies from countries like Russia and China to reach new nuclear markets. What types of regulations do you believe, sir, are unnecessarily holding back the export of U.S. nuclear technology?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm very passionate about this issue because it's a huge hindrance to global leadership in nuclear, and it's something that we really actively as a country need to reevaluate because, like you said, our barriers we're self-imposing are preventing us from being a massive world player that we should be here, but also ceding the opportunities to, frankly, less mature and less safe and less beneficial competitors. And the reality is we need to reevaluate that at the DOE level as well as the Department of Commerce, the NRC, and the Department of State. In the last 10 years or so, there's been significant changes to the rules about export controls in nuclear that have been very detrimental. They've gone in the wrong direction. The expectations that were set in terms of exporting reactors to, for example, the UAE, when we were negotiating those deals 8 or so years ago, were misguided and have set the wrong expectations and wrong standards that aren't aligned with what, frankly, the U.S.'s goal and the global goals for nuclear deployment should be. We need to reevaluate those, and we have to do it now because it's affecting us today.
Thank you for that answer. I concur. Would you have specific recommendations, perhaps, you could provide this full committee in writing over the course of the next month or so, whereby we may consider your recommendations, sir, as we attempt in a bipartisan manner to consider, of course, the ecological concerns of our planet, while at the same time recognizing the superiority of clean United States technology regarding energy development.
I would be happy to. American nuclear technology is the best, so I'd be happy to do that.
One more brief question, if I may. The Department of Energy has recently made improvements through its tech-to-market and technology transitions programs. However, many companies still struggle with tech transfer contracting procedures that can take up to a year to complete. From your perspective, how could the federal government streamline public-private partnerships and ease access to taxpayer-supported research?
I'll take a first go at that. I think one of the issues that we've seen is the fact that the contracting structures and the liability bases that the labs are effectively using to make their determinations are out of touch with what the objectives of the national labs really should be, to the point that it's they're afraid to do anything. We need to reevaluate that. It gets to a more fundamental question, I think, is what are the contracting structures for the operators of the national labs? Bell Labs operated Sandia Labs in a beautiful way, and in a way that's centered around advancing the national interest and achieving and growing national excellence. I think we've lost that today. I think it's time to reevaluate some of that so we can get back to what the core mission and the core capabilities of the labs are. I think that's one of the starting points, and there'd be some others, but for the sake of time, I'd be happy to defer those to writing.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. I believe your colleague has a comment.
I want to just second this aspect here. It is very important that the DOE is now actually having a technology transitions lab, but to do it much more strategically. And a lot of it can be done at the laboratory level, people who understand the technology closely. That was our finding with NREL. So I think reform and really recognizing it strategically would add greatly and improve our technology transfer.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Biggins. And the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tunko, is recognized.